Ladies and gentlemen, your sweet Zionist Prince Tal, the traveling clad, back here from the land of Israel. And today we're looking at a clip from Oxford Union of Rabbi Shmuleys Boteach. Let's crack into it. Hold up, I want to make a clarification real quick before Rabbi Shmuleys starts talking. I've made it abundantly clear on this channel. I'm not a huge fan of Rabbi Shmuleys. I don't think he's a good representative of the Jewish people or of Israel. He is a fellow Jew, and I know that his intentions do mean well. 99% of the time, probably. That might be giving him too much compared to how a lot of other Jews feel about him. I just want to say I'm willing to give him a chance because I heard that this speech, this talk is actually pretty solid. So I'm hoping that he kind of changes my mind with something more constructive than what I've seen on Piers Morgan.
Mishana, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I started well. Yes. Dennis, and all my other fellow Americans, happy Thanksgiving. And Billy and Jimmy are out having their Thanksgiving picnic when Billy is suddenly bit right on the butt by a giant snake. And Jimmy says, "I'll save your life. I'll run to the doctor." He goes to the doctor. "You have to come quickly." The doctor says, "I have too many patients," but it's simple. Draw an X on the point where the bite and the venom went in, and then pucker up your lips and suck out every last drop of poison. And Jimmy runs back to Billy, and Billy says, "What did the doctor say?" And Jimmy says, "He says you're going to die." My friends, nobody disputes that poison has been injected into the Middle East. The only question is, who is the serpent? And I've heard Catherine and Mishana tell me repeatedly that Hamas may be bad people, as if you can classify those who shoot gay men in the head as just bad people. As if you can classify those who aid and abet honor killings of Muslim women for doing nothing but falling in love, just bad people. As if you could excuse, for shame, those who took 21 innocent Palestinians on the last day of the war in Gaza, not Israelis, not Jews, and before the eyes of the world shot them in the head because they dared protest against Hamas. As if you can simply call them bad people. As if you could take an organization that would take Jews who live here in Great Britain, students at Oxford who happen to carry the name Jew, and write a charter calling for the extermination and annihilation of every last one, just bad people. My God, if a Jew did that, I would call it an abomination. If a Jew did that, I would be sickened and I would never defend it. And I would call it what it is. I would call it evil incarnate. But it's not Hamas's fault, you see. You see, Hamas is the serpent that was created by Israel. They've only turned to violence because of the occupation. They've turned to violence because of the military checkpoints and the human degradation. You know, one of the great honors I had in my life was 2 weeks ago when I traveled to Birmingham, Alabama in celebration of the life of Martin Luther King Jr. And I was on a panel with a man who spoke in this incredible chamber. And what an honor it is to be back, Mr. President. Thank you so much for giving me that privilege of coming back to the Oxford Union. I spent 11 years of my life in this great city. 6 of my 9 children were born in Oxford, and I love this tradition of people sitting and breaking bread, although they disagree. Not that we really disagree. Because in a democracy, you have the right to express your opinion. And Mishana, you have the right to be wrong. And I respect that right. I respect it fully and I honor it. But I was on the panel with a man named the Dalai Lama. And you know what? He has been under military occupation by a country called China since, 1950. Even if you believe that the Palestinians are under military occupation, in that They honored, you'd have to say they honored the Oslo I and Oslo II Accords, where Israel gave Yasser Arafat control of 97% of the Palestinian population, which it remains till this day. And still, it turned out that Israel had lost 1,000 citizens, equivalent to 60,000 Americans. In 1 year, blown to smithereens. Maybe Israel has a right to be a little bit weary of these peace deals. But even if you say that Israel is completely occupying the Palestinians,
I have to say, this is the most eloquent I've ever seen Rabbi Shmuley talking, and it's actually kind of shocking, so sorry for the lack of commentary, even though I know some of you guys are probably annoyed by my commentary. Well, actually, probably not, because that's the reason you come to my channel. But appreciate you guys. By the way, hey, support my channel. Take this opportunity to support my channel. I got a website called thetravelingclad.com. You can get merchandise. It really goes a long way to help the channel. We got a bunch of cool designs. And join my Patreon. You get extra bonus content. You can join my private chat. It's super cool. But I will say this is the most eloquent I've seen Rabbi Shmuley, but still, his demeanor and the way that he talks, it's not to hate on the guy, just for hating on him. It's just a little bit hard to it's hard to listen to him. I got to be honest with you. Something about the way he talks kind of irks me a little bit. I don't know how to explain it.
why didn't the Dalai Lama start blowing people up? Why is he a voice for peace? You have no choice. Once you're degraded, you've lost all moral choice. You have to become a murderer. God Almighty, was anyone more terrorized than the people of your incredible country in the years 1940 to 1941 in the Battle of Britain? Was anyone more terrorized than the citizens of London who faced Hitler's Luftwaffe bombs on a nightly basis? Did Britain send suicide bombers into nurseries? And by the way, Israel never even contemplated getting anywhere near how the Allies responded in Japanese and German cities. You speak about Israel precision bombs. What do you want Israel to be? God? Technology is advanced, but it's not that advanced. You see, when I came to Oxford tonight, it's interesting. I passed Magdalen, I passed New, I passed the exam schools. Where was the Air Force Base? Catherine, I'm just getting warmed up right now. You got to wait a few minutes. I'm just getting started. Where is the Air Force Base underneath this chamber? Where are the rocket launchers? Does Britain build its nuclear silos in the middle of St. John's? What is Hamas doing having military command posts under hospitals? Who does that to children? Who makes kids into bulletproof vests? And by the way, who asks children to stay there even after the imperialist Jews inform them that a bomb is coming? Who tells them that if you leave, you will be shot? Who does television broadcasts that announces to the Palestinian children that they have an obligation to give their, quote, head and shoulders to the Palestinian cause, that they must martyr themselves? Again, if any Jew said that to a Jewish child, let alone a Palestinian child created equally in the image of God, I would call it an abomination. The fact is, Catherine, I'm not warmed up just yet, but I will be. My friends, the fact is that Islam is a great world religion. And I'm not concerned about Hamas and Israel. You're correct, Catherine. Israel's a strong country. We learned after the Second World War we had no choice. We learned after seeing some of the reactions in the room tonight that we couldn't rely on other people to protect us. And God bless the IDF. But I will tell you, you know who I'm really worried about, to be honest? The proposition tonight is that Hamas or Israel is responsible for the peace. It didn't say which peace, though. I'm really worried about my Muslim brothers and sisters. I'm worried about their peace. Israel is strong. It will be strong. It'll continue to be strong. It has no choice.
True.
But I ask you, who is going to protect Muslim women should Israel decide, should all the Jews in the Middle East decide, you know, this is just too tough a neighborhood. Miami Beach, where I grew up, much more beautiful. We're just going to leave and finally go to America or come to England. If Israel were to leave the Middle East and cease to exist, I ask you a question. Who is going to protect Islamic women from honor killings, which only don't happen in Israel? Who is going to protect Palestinian homosexuals who are accused of being collaborators and are murdered? And you don't hear almost any objection. Who's going to protect Arab and Muslim women who want to get educated. We just had a Nobel Prize winner who got shot in the head. You see, I agree with you. You're part of a great world religion. God bless you for standing up for it. I'm a religious man. I respect that. Don't let anyone contaminate your religion, even if they're part of that same religion. Islam, through Sultan Saladin, was the first to give real rights to prisoners of war, to treat them like human beings. But we heard a defense of ISIS violating Islam by cutting off people's heads. That, my friends, is an abomination, not to Judaism, and not to Christianity, and not to atheism, not to agnosticism. It is an abomination to Islam.
Well, you know, I just finished reading the Quran, and while it doesn't say in the Quran itself that, like, beheading happened, there's a lot of supplementary information that's actively preached by Muslims and, like, celebrated by Muslims, that Muhammad, the Prophet, did actually, and his army, behead quite a few people during his reign. So, like, look, I appreciate Shmuley for trying to sow the... I'm all about it, by the way. I am a peaceful person. I don't want you guys to take me in a way that I'm not a peaceful. I do believe in peace. I want peace. I want peace between Muslims and Jews. I believe in it. I really do. I feel like we shouldn't run away from our shortcomings, especially our religious leaders. Like, look, I'm willing to say that Chashmonaim in the Jewish Bible, there was a period of time where there was Jewish terrorism in the land, and it was terrible. They were more mass converting people and mass murdering people. It was wrong. It was not right. I can say it. I can disavow it. It's not correct. It wouldn't have led us to the people we are today, but it's wrong. It shouldn't have happened. I can say it. Same thing with the Maccabees. The Maccabees, who, the story of Hanukkah, they at some point were also mass murdering Jews who didn't believe in the religion. It wouldn't have led us to where if it didn't happen, it wouldn't have led us to where we are today, but it's not correct that it happened. It's wrong. So I don't think we should run away from those realities. Like, beheading has been an active part of the Islamic faith for a very, very, very long time.
The Quran says that every human life is sacred. The Quran says that hatred of any religious entity is a sin. Muslims took in my people in Istanbul in 1492 when Catholic Spain kicked us out. Muslims took in my people.
My family's also from Turkey, but at some point they kind of kicked us out also.
We were kicked out of Portugal in 1498, and there are Jewish communities in Muslim countries till this very day. My father grew up in Iran, and there was no Holocaust in a Muslim land, and there were no crusades and expulsions. So how could my fellow Muslims sitting here today, part of such a glorious tradition, defend an organization that calls for a second Holocaust of the Jews? This isn't a threat to Judaism. This is a threat to Islam. It's a violation of Islam. And when you ask me, Catherine, where was Israel for the past 60 years? What were they doing? You know what, Catherine? They were simply trying to survive. It wasn't easy. You see, in 1947, the UN voted, just give me a minute here. In 1947, thank you very much. 1947, the UN, and this week is the anniversary, Catherine. We will continue this over drinks. In 1947, the UN voted for 2 states. The Jews accepted it. Catherine, you'll have to tell me over drinks why the Arabs did not. The 1936 Peel Commission. The Jews accepted a division of the land. The Arabs did not. 1967, Israel conquered all this land after an annihilatory war launched on them, especially from Jordan, who wasn't even part of the war. And Moshe Dayan says 4 days later, we want to give it all back. West Bank, Gaza. Gaza's given back already. You know how the Arabs responded? They met in Khartoum in Sudan a month later. Everyone knows the story. 3 no's. No negotiations, no peace, no recognition. Israel withdrew from Gaza completely in 2005. But Hamas is not interested in peace. Hamas is interested in contaminating a great world religion by being more interested in seeing the spilling of blood. And that's what sickens me about the ISIS beheadings. You know what sickens me? It's the glee with which they murder. And even if Hamas were to get up and say, you know what, we value Jewish life. We value Jewish life. But we just are upset that we're being treated. I could even somehow make sense of this. Because if any Jew got up and said, if they would ululate when rabbis are killed, I would be disgusted. Muslims are created in God's image as are Jews. We must condemn any organization that targets civilians for murder. There are no excuses. Morality is now, it's universal, it's for all time. Thank you very much.
It's definitely the most eloquent I've ever seen Rabbi Shmuley speaking, and respect points have been added. You know, every Jew has their different way to express the trauma of their family. I actually wasn't aware until this video came out that Shmuley is partly Mizrahi Jew. I didn't know. His family was from Iran and Turkey. But the reality is, I think slight capitulation to the side and whitewashing away the history of active beheadings in the Islamic faith, it does a bit of a disservice because it doesn't allow Islam to reform. We shouldn't give any free passes. In the same way we shouldn't give free passes to extremist Jews or extremist Christians, we shouldn't give free passes to Muslims. Just because then they'll never reform. And we do want Islamic reform in this world. That's all I got to say. Appreciate you guys so much for watching. Not for walking, but for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, class. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.